All right, what's up, guys? It's Josh back for another week of SobrietyWoD, and if it's your first time, welcome, and if you've been before, welcome back. Get right into it. There's something that's been on my mind a lot lately, and I felt like it was a good class to have something to talk about, and it's the idea or the spiritual principle of detachment. Um, Detachment has to do with letting go, and I think that it's primarily probably something that's more discussed in like Al-Anon circles or like codependent circles, and a lot of times it deals with relationships or people specifically, like detaching from a relationship or how to love somebody without smothering them or trying to change them. And then it kind of branches out into like maybe your work environment or the gym or maybe in your meetings or school or whatever, where if you have that thing where you're constantly trying to fix people, change people, or you just feel like all your problems really come from somebody else. So this principle kind of has something to say about all that stuff. And even though I think it's discussed more openly in like the codependent situation, Al-Anon situation, I remember when I first got sober, how I experienced detachment. And for me, another way to think about it is that sort of embracing uncertainty. And when I started the gyms and got sober and came back, I had no plans. I just wanted to stay sober and try to stay happy. And really, my goal was just to do the next right thing and to do everything as good as I possibly could. And that's what happened with CrossFit, and that's what happened with my recovery, and now the business, and all that stuff was just a result of there was no goal, there was no like end picture that it had to look like. And so by just kind of responding to what came up and trying to make good decisions based on the wisdom that I was learning, it was free. It was so free, and everything that happened was like a miracle and amazing, and every good thing, and there were no bad things. Like I didn't hold on to anything. It didn't have to be at a certain location. It didn't have to be a certain amount of members. It didn't have to be, I didn't have to lift a certain amount of weight. Like it just was like, let's just see what happens. Like let's do our best and see what happens. And that was kind of the guiding principle. And I can remember being so gracious, like having so much gratitude for everything in my life because none of it was me. I didn't try to get any of it. And so kind of the idea of detachment has to do with like it's okay to want something and it's okay to desire something, but at the same time we can't hold on to it so tight that it starts to cause anxiety and fear and unhappiness and depression. When we get close to it, we're up, and then when it seems like it's further away, we're down, and it's just a big mess, and we don't need that roller coaster, right? So part of that is embracing uncertainty, and that's a difficult thing to do. The ego wants certainty. The ego wants to know for sure. I'll do this if I know I'm going to get this for it, and that leads to a lot of problems, a lot of unhappiness, and a lot of problems. And so lately, I don't even know why. Well, I kind of do know why. I was studying the science behind addiction and what the medical community believes about it, and getting into sort of that really strong like cause and effect stuff, and really trying to figure everything out and how the mechanisms work and how to fix it. And then I ended up getting so science, and then I just get on these trails and I started following like physics and particle physics and getting down to like the atom and quantum physics and all this kind of stuff. And you don't need to know anything about that, but if you are familiar with it at all, I mean, essentially when we get down to the smallest things, we don't have a clue how it works. Like nothing follows the rules. We can base things on it, computers and technology and all that stuff, but we really don't understand it. And it's like, it kind of is a great picture of how man is, because my fiance Alex, she's doesn't care. Like when I'm talking about it or trying to show her something, she's not interested at all. She's fine with not understanding it. And I'm the exact opposite. Like I have to try to understand everything. But it's funny because at the end of the day, with all the study and all the obsessing that I did over it or do over it, I'm right where she already was, not knowing shit. Like that's basically it. And so a allowing the uncertainty, embracing the uncertainty is a big part of this. I've been studying some Taoism stuff. If you've ever read anything about that, it's pretty deep stuff, but a lot of it has to do with what they call embracing the mystery. So I'm always trying to like figure out God and figure out what I have to do and figure out how the universe works and spirit, you know, and that's part of my disease. That's my ism, you know, trying to figure everything out. And one of the ways they refer to the Tao, which is like the underlying spiritual principle that governs the universe, and it's kind of nuts, but you could check it out as Tao. It's pretty interesting. But one of the names they have for it is the mystery. They call it like embracing the mystery. And it's funny because the idea is that knowing that you can't know it, calling it the mystery is like admitting that you have no clue what it is, but that's where the freedom is, you know? And so it's tough, like in relationships and stuff like that, to think, well, if I don't do this, they won't do this, or if I do this, it'll mess it all up, and then it'll be my fault, and then the relationship will be in trouble, and then we get all worked up, and we're always trying to figure everything out and fix everything, and it doesn't work out very well. So for the little discussion part, and I'm gonna tie this in with a physical in a second, but for the little discussion part, I just want you guys to think about an area in your life where you might benefit from practicing more detachment, or even if you don't think you'll benefit, but where you probably should practice some more detachment, whether that's a specific relationship or with people, or with maybe a goal that you have that you obsess over, or, you know, the closer it gets, the better you feel, you know, financial success, being in a certain place spiritually. Like sometimes for me, that's like, I have to detach from that, and you get there like when you kind of let go. So anyway, hopefully you guys, group conscious, can kind of talk about this stuff and figure out some areas in your life where you could use this principle, and then we'll be right back.